Curtain walls are made of a series of different panels, and in this instance, that's what we're looking at, is that even though we highlight over the curtain wall by just moving our cursor over to the curtain wall system, this is a group of different panels. And we can isolate the individual panels by just moving the cursor to the edge of one of the panels and then selecting the Tab key on the keyboard. By doing this, one of the panels will highlight. And if you want to select it, you can left click on it, and now it'll be a selected panel. Now, just like every other object in Revit, whenever you select it, there's a very good chance you can choose a different kind of object off of the type selector list. In this case, underneath Properties, we have the type selector list, and this panel is called a System Panel Glazed. What I'd like to do is click on it and change it to be a System Panel Solid. By doing this, we've now put in a solid panel into this curtain wall system. It's not made of glass, it's just made out of a generic material, and it's a thicker panel than the panels up above it. Panels don't have to just be made of glass. They also don't have to be made out of a blue glass, it could be a different color of glass. The panel itself, think of it like a normal Revit family. And what you do is that you can replace those panels inside of the curtain wall system with other panels that have whatever kind of property you need them to have. In this instance, I'd like to create a new type of panel. So to do that, I'm going to zoom into the other side. I'm going to put my cursor right along the edge of the curtain wall system, and now I'm going to click Tab to isolate this individual panel. Now, left click to select on it, and then move over here and select on Edit Type underneath Properties. And this brings up the type properties of this individual panel. The two things that I really care about in here are going to be material as well as thickness, because we can specify what the material this panel is, as well as what the thickness of the panel would be. I'll also point to this, though I'm not going to change it. There's an offset distance to the constraints. What this allows us to do is that when we draw in our curtain wall, we can tell that panel to be offset from the curtain wall a certain distance. So if you draw a custom curtain wall in and you realize that your curtain wall panel isn't in the location you'd like it to be in, you can change the offset distance here. The curtain wall will stay in the same spot, but the panels that make up that curtain wall will then adjust either one direction or the other. In this instance, what I'd like to do is move up here to the button called Duplicate, because I want to create a duplicate curtain wall panel. We can call this anything we want, as long as it makes sense for the kind of object it is that we're getting ready to create. In this case, though, I don't really care so much, so I'm just going to call it Example. Down below, there's the option for material, and currently it's called Glass. Well, if we highlight where it has the word Glass, we'll get this button over toward the right-hand side. If we select on that button, it'll bring up the Material Browser, and from here, we can pick a different material off of the list. We could choose from different glass materials, metals, wood, steel. If you want to find some more materials to be able to refine your material selection, you can move up here, and where it has this arrow next to Project Materials All, you can click and then choose a different material off of the list. In this case, I'm going to find glass, and I can see that there's currently two different kinds of glass materials that I can choose from. The current one has a blue color associated with it. If we choose Glass Clear Glazing, we'll see if that has a different color. It looks like right now its color is that same blue color, but I'm going to move up here and click on Use Rendered Appearance, and we can see that that color has now changed fairly dramatically. The color underneath the Appearance tab here, for the way that it should render when it's actually rendered, is different from what the material is supposed to look like inside of the Revit environment. By putting Use Render Appearance, it gives it a color much closer to its actual rendered appearance. Also, there's an option here for transparency, so you can adjust what the transparency of this material would be. In this case, though, because of the Use Rendered Appearance being on, it wasn't allowing us to do that. But if you clear the checkbox out after doing that, you'll notice that it retains the color, and then you can adjust the transparency of that glass. This is going to be the material that I want to use, so I'm going to select on that and then click on OK. And we can see that that's now available to us. I'm also going to make this be just a little bit thicker than what it was. I'm going to make this 1¼ inches thick, 1.25 inches. And from here, I'm going to click on OK. Click out into space, and now we can see that we have that example panel. You almost can't see through it at all, because I changed the transparency of it If you zoom in really close down here and kind of highlight, you may even be able to tell that yes, there is some line work that goes through there, but for the most part, you won't be able to see through it. If we wanted to change the majority of these panels to be that type, you'd have to move over here, hit the tab key, select, and then select the new type of panel off of the list. And you could repeat that process again and again and again to repeat the replacement of that panel. So the point of this being is that you're not limited to the way that these panels can look. You can move your mouse over an existing panel, hit tab, select on it, and then either pick a new type off of the list or create a new one by going into Edit Type and Duplicate, give it a thickness, give it any material that you want, and then you can have your own custom panels inside of your curtain wall systems.